Today we're going to be combining two elements together. We're going to take this banana and we're going to combine it with this snake to make it look like the snake is coming out of the banana. You'll see what's going on in a little bit. So I got my two photos open here. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new document, and I'm going to do it in inches, and I'm going to do the width as 8 and the height as 10, and I'm going to do the resolution at 200. So 8 by 10 and 200 pixels per inch. And click OK, and here's my new document. Now I'm going to bring the banana in, so I'm going to go back to my banana picture and use the Move tool, and I'm going to click and drag the banana up to my new document until it opens, and then I'm going to drop it in. So there's the banana, and my new layer here is layer 1. I'm going to name this banana. And then I'm going to go to my snake picture, and I'm going to use the Move tool again and click and drag the snake until my new document opens up, and then I'm going to drop it in. Now you notice right away that first of all the snake is facing the wrong direction. We want him to face the other way. And the other one is that the banana is much larger than the snake. I'm going to move the snake off the screen just so that it's up here for a moment and go to my banana picture. And I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to hold Shift and grab the corner here, and I'm going to pull this picture down so that the banana is not going outside of the picture. Maybe a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to line it up in the corner here, just like that. So we have room for the snake to come out. Now I'm going to go to the layer where my snake is, and I'm just going to go ahead and name this layer snake. And I'm going to move this guy down, and I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, and instead of pulling these, I'm just going to right click and go to Flip Horizontal. And so now the snake is going in the right direction. Now I'm going to make it larger by going to one of the corners and holding Shift, and I'm going to pull this guy until he's really, really large. I want the neck to be about the same size as the banana here. So that's probably good right there, and you can always go back and change it later. So we're going to have the neck come out we're going to have the head of the snake start about right here, and we're going to have it be right at the tip of the banana. Okay, so I'm going to put the snake in the middle of my picture, and I'm going to make a duplicate of this. So I'm just going to drag this down to the icon right next to the trash and make a copy, and I'm going to turn the eyeball off of the copy layer. The reason I'm making a copy is just in case I mess something up with this one, and so I just want to have a spare. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and use my pen tool. So use the pen tool, and I would make sure that Paths is selected. If you're in CS5 or above, you're probably going to have paths automatically selected, but you do not want shapes to be selected, so no shape layers. Make sure it's paths. And I'm also going to open my navigator. If you don't have the navigator, go to Window and make sure that navigator is checked. And I'm actually going to make the navigator just a little bit larger. This is a little thumbnail of what's going on. And with this arrow right here, I can zoom in on the snake. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to just cut it off about right here. I'm going to start my pen tool just clicking spots going around the curve of the snake, but I'm not going to be making the curves yet. I'm going to make them later. So I'm just going to make sure that the pen is lined up right where the snake ends and the background begins. So I'm just going to make a point right there, and I'm going to start making points around the snake. Make sure that your pen is right on the edge of the snake. You don't want to go out here, for example. And anytime that there's a little bit of an arc, just make another point, and we're going to arc that later on. Coming into this section right here, it can get a little tricky. You just want to make sure that wherever there is a change in curvature, you're going to put a new point. So see how there's space right here. So just keep making new points until you've covered the entire snake's face. Around the tooth I'm making several because there's a lot of different curves in here and we want to make sure that we have a lot of detail there. Just make sure that your points are going right where the snake meets the background, and then you'll be fine. And you can make as many of these points as you want. You can also subtract points later on, so don't worry if you make too many, you can always take them away. This part is very important, so make sure you don't rush it. You don't want to go too fast because this is going to make or break the way that this thing looks. So just make sure that you're taking your time. There's no rush. And even if you don't put the point right where you want it to go, you can either push Control Z and get rid of it, or you can change it later on when we start curving the line. And I would just recommend to put them roughly where I'm putting my marks. And once you get down to about here, we're going to be cutting off the snake about here. So I'm going to get more than I need though. So go ahead and top that off. And then I'm going to go to my pen tool and hold the button down, and I'm going to do Add Anchor Point tool. So the little one with the little plus. And I'm just going to start adding some anchors. So right here I'm going to click, and it gives me a little anchor, and I can pull this anchor back and forth. And I'm just going to line this line up with the snake to make sure that it's going in the right place so that the line is right next to it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I want to make sure that this thing is going right up against the body where it needs to go. Okay, and then I'm going to move my little box up, and I can see that the line is going off here, so I'm going to make sure you don't click this little handlebar. You want to click the line, this continuous line. When you create a new anchor point, it makes these little anchor handles, and you can pull the line back and forth. And so you just want to make sure that you click on the actual line instead of the anchor line. So I'm going to click another one, I'm going to pull this up, and just keep doing that until the line goes perfectly around the snake's head. So here's my next line, I'm going to click that, pull the line out, and then line it right up with the snake. This one's a little bit high, see that? It's a little outside, so we'd have a little black show up here of the background. We don't want that, so I'm going to pull that down until it just touches the snake right here. Even this one is a little close, so I'm going to move that up just a little bit. There we go. And this anchor is a little bit high, so I'm going to put that. If you cut off a tiny little sliver of the snake, it doesn't really matter, so don't worry about that. And continue to move around, add your anchor points, pull the anchors up so that you have, notice that you can pull this so that it swivels in either way. So this one has more of an arc on this back end than it does on the front. And it's cutting off the snake a little bit too much here, so I'm just going to add another anchor point, pull this up, and I'm going to move this anchor point down a little bit, just so that you follow the contours of his head. Again, you want this to look nice and even. You don't want this to look all jagged, otherwise it's not going to look realistic. I'm actually going to add an anchor point here just to get this part a little bit more. There we go. just making some anchor points to make this a little bit more curved. You don't want a little pointy snout. Oops. I added 2 anchor points right next to each other, so I'm just going to go back in time until that didn't exist. Control Z. You can also use your history right here. And if you don't have your history up, you can go to Window History, and it will record the last about 20 moves that you've made, so you can keep that in mind. Now here I got really far away from the fang, so I'm just going to pull that one down. And you can just keep adding more anchor points to make sure that you're going right up against the face here. Looks like we're just about done.